You know, ever since we first started throwing around the idea as retail investors of going to protest in front of the SEC for retail transparency, it's always bothered me that we had such hesitancy across the entire retail sector, and that there were so many of you that were concerned and worried about possible repercussions from an incident maybe occurring from a bad actor showing up at a peaceful protest and having the results end up somewhere along the lines of January 6th and the narrative that we've heard from the mainstream media about this violent insurrection. Now, in tonight's video, I'm not going to discuss whether or not January 6th was an insurrection or not. We're going to focus in on one particular case and one particular federal violation that should have all of us concerned as freedom-loving Americans. Now, I know there are a broad range of stories that we could cover, things that have happened in the past week or so with the Federal Reserve, the interest rate hikes, Janet Yellen, GameStop earnings, plenty of stories. I just think that this is important enough of a subject that we could devote an entire video to it today. But before we do any of that and get into a deep discussion about Brady violations,
cue the spear.
This is the way.
Speaking of which, did you see the new video of the fucking QAnon shaman being led through the Capitol building by police?
No. What happened there?
You know, there's the story of the violent insurrection.
Oh, yeah,
That's
of
the narrative,
it
right?
was, I mean,
By the way, let's just be real clear. You shouldn't break into the fucking Capitol building. You shouldn't be trying to overthrow the government. You shouldn't be trying to, like, get out there and say that the election was false when you don't exactly know. You're just buying into it, and then you all invade the Capitol. Wasn't good. Wasn't a good look for America. Wasn't good for any of the people there. Nothing was good about January 6th. Let's be real clear. But when you watch the video of that guy being led around through the Capitol building by police, they're basically giving him like a tour. They're talking to him and hanging out with him. At one point in time, it's him and there's like 6 police officers around him, and they're not arresting him. They're not throwing him to the ground. There's no violence at all. Like, I don't think what that guy did was good. I don't think what any of those people did was good. It wasn't smart to fucking barge into the Capitol and take pictures of your feet on Nancy Pelosi's desk. It's fucking stupid. It's a crime. But they were leading him around. Like, the cops were talking to him and hanging out with him. They weren't like arresting him immediately. It wasn't like he was this violent guy who broke in and started smashing things and fucked the government.
They stayed between the velvet ropes.
Watch the video.
Yeah.
See, have you seen the video?
No, I have not seen the video.
See if you can find it.
good morning, beautiful people. Guys, what's going on? It is Monday, March 27th, 2023, and that clip we just watched was from Joe Rogan's podcast. He was on with Michael Malice, and they were discussing some of the newly released CCTV footage from the Capitol on January 6th, and how this footage paints a very different picture than we've been getting from the mainstream media for the past 2 years. Now, we were told over and over again that this information, these videotapes were very sensitive to national security and to protect Congress, but you think that this video footage would have been at least turned over to some of the defendants who are facing charges stemming from this incident. But as we are about to find out, that is not the case, and it should scare the living shit out of all of us. Watch.
Represented Jacob Chansley at his trial. He had not seen that video evidence until we broadcast it on Monday, and we're happy to have him join us now. Mr. Watkins, thank you for coming on. If you could just restate clearly, just to make sure that, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Had you seen that clearly exculpatory tape of your client at trial?
No. We went through extraordinary efforts on behalf of our client to put him in a position of knowledge. That's my duty as an agent of the court, to make sure that he knew everything that the government had, good and bad, to put him in that position to make a learned, informed, voluntary decision about whether to go to trial or take a plea. The government knew through 3 hearings when we begged and pleaded to get this man out of solitary confinement, literally falling into an abyss mentally. And through each of those 3 hearings, that government assistant U.S. attorney knew the most important aspect of that hearing was that Jake was not violent. The government knew. They knew that Jake had walked around with all of these police officers. They had that video footage. I didn't get it. It wasn't disclosed to me. It wasn't provided to me. I requested it. I filed the requisite pleadings for it. And whether I did or not, they had a duty, an absolute duty, with 0 discretion to provide it to me so that I could share it with my client. I never got
very,
it.
very simple question. It's shocking that this could happen and happen with the knowledge of Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger and Chuck Schumer and all the ghouls around the story. How can this man still be in prison tonight? He's still in jail tonight, right now.
Well, it's a tragedy. I mean, what's happened is truly a dagger in the heart of our American justice system. We can't allow it.
Now, before we take this conversation any further, let's just get a basic idea or understanding of what exactly a Brady violation is.
Before a trial, prosecutors have to share any evidence that could acquit the defendant, even if the defendant doesn't ask for it. It's called Brady disclosure, after a 1963 Supreme Court case, Brady v. Maryland. There's no standard to determine which evidence qualifies, so prosecutors decide on their own. A defendant can challenge his conviction on Brady grounds if he can prove 3 things: that evidence was suppressed, that it's favorable to him, and that it could have affected the outcome of the trial.
Now, no matter where you fall on the spectrum when it comes to defining January 6th, whether you think it was a violent insurrection, an organized attempt by a bunch of Americans who had just met that day and who came to DC unarmed to overthrow the government, or you think that it was just a peaceful protest that kind of got out of hand and maybe there were some bad actors mixed in there. When you put together that with the police opening gates for people, allowing them to come in, some people actually had permits to protest. No matter where you side on the issue, clearly the federal government is in violation of Brady here, and it is not something we should take lightly. And just in case the federal government withholding exculpatory evidence doesn't scare you enough, here is the most recent nominee to a federal judgeship that the Biden administration has put forward. Watch.
Tell me how you analyze a Brady motion.
How I analyze a Brady motion?
Yes.
Senator, in my 4.5 years on the bench, don't believe I've had the occasion to address a Brady motion in my career.
Do you know what a Brady motion is?
Senator, in my time on the bench, I've not had occasion to address that, and so it's not coming to mind at the moment what a Brady motion is.
Do you recall the U.S. Supreme Court case, Brady v. Maryland?
I do recall the name of the case, Senator, yes.
And what did it hold?
I believe that the Brady case, Senator, I believe the Brady case involves something regarding the Second Amendment. It is not. I've not had occasion to address that. If that issue were to come before me, I would certainly analyze that Supreme Court precedent and apply it as I would need to the facts in front of me.
Who the fuck is that guy?
You know, I'll be honest, while researching this story, the thing that bothered me the most was realizing that there is only one newscaster in the entire world who picked up on this story and is reporting about it. God, what does that say about journalism these days? Anyways, that's why I thought it was something important that we should talk about tonight. Hopefully you guys got a little information on this, and just be aware of what your government is doing, guys, because this could come back on any one of us at any time if we get out of line. All right, so I know there's a lot else that's going on in the news right now. We had some big news out of Marvel and Lucasfilm. Victoria Alonso got fired. Damon Lindelof canceled his Star Wars movie. Hopefully that succubus, Kathleen Kennedy, is going to be next to go at Lucasfilm. We had a Fed rate hike, 0.25%. GameStop came back with excellent earnings. And I want to discuss this little conversation that took place last week between President Putin and Xi Jinping and what it has to do with the contents of this book. Alright guys, let's leave it there for today. If you wouldn't mind, if you made this far in the video, hitting that like button to help the algo. As always, thank you for the likes, the views, the comments, my new subscribers, my OGs. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. We are here to break the wheel. This is Ape Nation, I'm the Massalorian, and I'm out.